Well, good morning, everybody. I'm not Vanessa. I'm Dr. Frank. It's good to be with you folks today. Vanessa's having technical trouble. She'll be joining us shortly. I'm here in Korea. And even though it's morning there in America, it's about 10 o'clock in the evening here in Korea the following day. Well, actually, it's the same day, just much later. I'm here with, at the request of Mr. Lindell, I came early last week before their early voting in their elections. And then I traveled around and visited. And when we came to the airport, I got to meet for the first time former Ambassador Morris Tan is with us, and he speaks perfectly good English, so I won't have to interpret for him. But then Mike had asked me to work with the election integrity team here of the Freedom and Innovation Party, and the head of that team is Chu Hyun. He's the head of the election integrity team. So we did some Zooms together, and it became quite clear that they wanted me here. And I'm glad I came. Boy, have I learned a lot in Korea. We have former Prime Minister Hwan Kyo-an, who also attended the CPAC meeting where he met Mike Lindell. And he made a plea. He says, "Can you please help us? And can we please join forces?" And so that's why Mike called me and said, "Would you please talk to the team?" I Zoomed with them. And Jennifer, back here, she's the interpreter. She did a great job interpreting. And it's been quite an adventure. I have to tell you, as an American citizen, I have to just admit I was completely clueless about what's going on in Korea until this week. And it's been a great shock to me, quite shocking actually, to experience communism firsthand. And people say, "What do you mean communism? You're in Korea. That's American. It's South Korea. That we already had that war." Well, yeah, we did, but since then, communism has been steadily and incrementally encroaching in the country. And as of today or yesterday, when they had the election, I think we've gone over the edge. I think the government's fully infiltrated now, and it's a communist government. And so we've got serious issues here, and I'm glad I'm here, especially with Mr. Tan. He's informed me about so much, and I think that, and when we come back to the country together, we'll team up with several patriots there who are also aware of what's going on. We need to sound the alarm. It's been very shocking. After I observed some of the early voting, the team leader, Chu Hyun, who's been basically spearheading the election fraud investigation here for the last several years, he took me to some places that were eye-opening. And one of the first places that really sent shockwaves up my spine is a place called AWEB, AWED. It stands for the Association of World Election Bodies. Thank you. Yes, bodies. Uh, it's basically an international organization for setting up election fraud. And in Chu Hyun's words, he said it's basically an international terrorist organization. And now that I've seen it firsthand, I agree. This is a serious situation. So anyway, that's kind of my first impressions as I've been here. But I'll just share one more first impression before we kind of get into this a little bit. Um, as we would travel around with the team, we would just walk up to a building to do some interviews, and suddenly people would start scurrying around, like, "Oh no, they're watching us," like they have nothing to hide. And suddenly cops would start showing up, and it's a very interesting feeling. To everywhere I go, everywhere Minister Tan goes, we've been, or former, not minister, ambassador, former ambassador, um, the cops come running out, and it's like, what are they hiding? What are they hiding? What are they afraid of? It's really been an interesting experience for me to experience that firsthand. So anyway, there'll be more on that later. But what's important for you to know is that they've just had their national election, big election. And you should see all the signs. People are saying, "Stop the steal," just like in America. And it's been kind of shocking to see the same stuff going on here that's going on in America. The people here, though, they know their elections have been stolen from them. And this is last night at the NEC, which is the National Election Commission. that is basically, in former Ambassador Tan's words, it's basically the government because they control everything in this country. And it makes perfect sense. Once you own and can control the elections, you can control the government. So that's a big deal. And there's some history in that that would make sense, I think, for Mr. Tan to describe. But that was last night. And then today we went to another rally where about 50% of the ballots didn't show up at a specific polling place. And this happened in many places around the country. I went there to speak, and boy, I'm telling you, these people, they love us, and they are desperate for our help. And so I'm warmly, you can see me being warmly welcomed here. It's been I think I've made some lifelong friends here. The Korean people are lovely people. But the reason why there's a rally there is because the citizens rose up and said, we're not going to give you the rest of the ballots from our election because you didn't give us enough ballots for everybody to vote. And they're basically saying, give us the rest of our ballots or you don't get any of our ballots. And the people themselves are rising up. So it's pretty exciting to see that. I wish we had a little more of that in America. And I'm not saying that we haven't had our own rallies. J6 would be a perfect example of a rally. But I really think this is an amazing time in history for us as a country because we've recognized that we have issues with our elections, and it's the same in Korea. They have the same issues. It's the same problems. I mean, I feel like I'm walking in here. It's like I feel I'm walking into Colorado, and that's no insult to Korea. Sorry. It's like you already know everything they're doing. It's all the same kinds of tactics, everything. So anyway, I think perhaps now, let me back up a little bit and tell you how all this got together and introduce Prime Minister Kwon Kyo-an. He attended CPAC this recently, a couple of months ago, and he met with Mike Lindell and basically pleading for our help. And so he gave a speech at CPAC. It was a well-received speech, and if you watch that speech, you'll see that his interpreter Jennifer was there. And so I don't know. I'd just like to introduce you, and maybe you could make some words of greeting, and then we'll have a couple of questions. So perhaps would you like to address the American public?
예, 안녕하세요. 한국의 황교안입니다. 전 국무총리 액팅 프레지던트였습니다. 미국을 사랑합니다. 한미 동맹의 중요성에 대해서 너무나 잘 알고 있습니다. 앞으로 기회를 더 많이 만들어서 자주 가기도 하고 많은 미국 분들을 한국에서 만나면서 좋은 관계를 이어가도록 그렇게 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Hi, I'm Hwang Kyo-an. I was the former Prime Minister and acting President of South Korea. And I love America and love Americans. And I believe that our alliance between US and Korea should remain ironclad and strong. I am hopeful for our interaction, and I hope that we will have further exchanges in the future. And I'll be very happy to meet you in Korea and also in the United States.
Very good. That's good introduction. What do you, former Prime Minister, what is your feeling after the election yesterday and today? What are your thoughts about the election?
여전히 부정선거가 조작을 이루어가고 있다 하는 점 하나가 아주 입장화될 일이라고 생각합니다.
So first of all, it's very evident that there are signs of manipulations and election fraud.
두 번째는 내가 한 만큼 국회의원이라든지 정치인으로서 평가받는 시스템이 아직 안 됐다, 무너졌다 이런 생각을 합니다.
And I believe, secondly, that the system of being evaluated through election of how well one has done one's job as a politician, as a congressman, has collapsed.
그로서는 이번에 평택을 보궐선거에 출마를 했었는데 새로운 곳에 가서 새로운 도전에 직면함으로써 그것도 굉장히 흥미로웠다 이런 말씀을 드립니다.
I think he's saying that there's no accountability anymore at that level. Yes. And go ahead and continue. Yes.
And
Sometimes translations are tricky.
And personally, I believe I experienced many new challenges which were eye-opening and interesting because I also participated in the by-election. I ran in it to become a member of the National Assembly.
And what do you think about the Korean response? What do you think? Are the people aware of the fraud? Are they engaging, or are they sort of oblivious?
한국 사람들은 과거의 부정선거에 대해서는 뭐 잘 알고 있었는데 2010년 이후의 부정선거에 대해서는 잘 모릅니다.
Koreans are very well aware of the elections a long time ago,
이런
many
식의
years ago, but that they are not that aware of the election frauds that happened since 2020.
이런 식의 부정선거가 이제 알려지고 있었는데 2020년경 선거에 잘 모릅니다. 근데 우리 국민들도 2020년식 부정선거가 저지른 것에 대해서는 잘 모릅니다. 너무 모릅니다.
We've got some feedback there. I bet you Vanessa just came on. There, I think we took care of that. Go ahead.
A new form of election fraud began happening since 2020, which involved electronic system. Not many Koreans are aware of this new kind of fraud.
For information purposes, they use Smartmatic here, and I went to the counting stations and saw it all, and it's very reminiscent of what we see in the United States. So, are the Korean people? What percentage of the Korean people do you think believe that there is election fraud?
뭐 객관적으로 말하면 50% 정도, 50% 정도는 부정선거를 지금 시점에서는 알 것으로 생각하고.
As of today, I believe that about 50% of all Koreans
Wow.
are aware of election fraud.
지역적으로 아주 핫한 이슈가 있었던 지역에서는 예를 들어서 민경호 의원이 있었던 인천 연수구 같은 데는 부정선거를 아는 사람들이 훨씬 더 많습니다. 그래서 60%가 넘는 정도로 부정선거를 잘 알고 있어요.
That vary by district. So districts where there were rampant election fraud, especially the Incheon district, where the first cases of election fraud was discovered by Min Kyung-wook. Those people, the locals there, are much more aware of election fraud. I would say that's 60%.
양상이 부정선거가 있다 없다 이거보다도 부정선거가 있다고 하더라도 그럼 어떻게 할 거냐, 방법이 없었냐, 이런 식의 패배의식을 가지고 있는 사람들이 여전히 많습니다.
I think the issue is not whether people are aware of election fraud or not, but whether after knowing election fraud, do they just concede and go on, saying, so what? Or do they try to take action?
그래서 밑에서부터의 변화도 있지만 위로부터의 변화가 국민들에게 이것을 일깨우는 큰 효과가 있었습니다.
There were some bottom-up awareness, but also there were lots of top-down efforts raising awareness that was effective in Korea.
예를 들면 국정원이 이제 전수조사를 보안 조사를 해봤어요. 선관위에 대해서 이런 것이 굉장히 큰 효과가 있었습니다.
One such example is when NIS, the Korean National Intelligence Service,
The National Intelligence Service, NIS,
conducted an audit into NEC, which is the National Election Commission that manages election. And through the audit, they found many electronic vulnerabilities that are open to hacking.
두 번째는 이제 저 같은 사람이, 나는 정치라던 사람이 아니라 법무부에 있던 사람인데 이런 사람이 얘기를 하니까 거짓은 아닐 텐데 이러면서 이제 믿어주는 이런 사람들이 점점 더 많아지게 되었습니다.
And people like me, for example, I was not a politician. I am a Korean lawyer, and I spent my life in the prosecution. But as I talked about election fraud and pointed out that this is election fraud, since I'm a legal expert, people began to believe me and become aware of election fraud.
세 번째로는 우리나라 윤석열 대통령, 윤 대통령이 계엄과 부정선거 얘기를 하면서 그러면서 국민들이 확 알려지게 되었고 특히 청년들이 계몽되었다고 말할 정도로 이렇게 깨달아 알게 되었습니다.
Thirdly, thanks to President Yoon Suk-yeol, who declared martial law to uncover election fraud, that served as a catalyst moment, enlightening many young people, and these young Koreans began to be aware of.
What year was that when the martial law was, Ambassador?
That happened on December 3rd, 2024.
And why was that such a significant event?
Because the main target of the martial law declaration was the National Election Commission. There was an attempt that failed, unfortunately, to get the server there. The most soldiers were sent to the National Election Commission. President Yoon had announced, too, that North Korea had been hacking the South Korean elections.
So the elected president was aware of hacking. He sends the troops to the election commission.
Yes.
And then what happens?
And what happens is that he gets impeached and removed and prosecuted, and his residence is surrounded by police, and he voluntarily gives himself up in order to prevent bloodshed, because there are people who are willing to defend him with force.
Yeah, wow.
But he voluntarily gave himself up, and then he was served a 52-day jail sentence. He was released, but then there was the interim election where Lee Jae-myung was not actually elected, but through election fraud was put into office.
They put in a new replacement using bad elections.
Yes, and then he was re-prosecuted again, which violates double jeopardy. And he's gotten multiple sentences, a life sentence, another sentence on top of that, another sentence on top of that. There are yet more lawsuits that he's involved in. And this is, you basically saw what President Trump identified as a revolution, a coup d'etat, and a purge where he is systematically going after his enemies, which is why the rightful president of Korea is in jail along with 8 of his top leaders.
President Soon?
President Yoon.
Yoon, sorry.
Yes, and there are more and more people who are associated with President Yoon who are being prosecuted, or might I say persecuted through lawfare.
So, you know, as I've been experiencing Korea, it seems to me, as Prime Minister mentioned, that the people are aware of this. They know their elections are being stolen. They're afraid of the government, I think.
Yes.
Is that a fair characterization?
Oh, I see it and I feel it palpably.
Yeah.
And, you know, Prime Minister Hwang, he had also, because he's been bravely speaking out, there were 100 police sent to his home where they destroyed the lock on his door, invaded his home, seized him, arrested him, threw him into prison. And Park Ji-yeon, as part of a team of 8 attorneys, argued for 4.5 hours in court and were able to get him released. But in order to fight, there are more and more consequences that are oppressive, repressive, and unjust going on for good and great leaders like Prime Minister Hwang and others who are being persecuted, lawfare, political repression, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all being attacked in unprecedented ways that have never before happened in South Korean history.
So we had a conflict, a war in the early 50s in America, and Americans sacrificed 36,000 lives here, and many more South Korean lives. So we sort of took back South Korea away from the communists, and we put Camp Humphreys here, which is one of the largest, if not the largest military base in the world, here to basically plant a stake in the ground to defend ourselves. But yet, we're not having that kind of warfare. We're having 5th generation warfare, where they've done essentially a coup d'etat using the election system.
Right.
And that's what you described. And now, and the significance, I think, of today, and it's really shocking to me, folks. My heart is broken, and it's very shocking. I think of, as of today, we've now lost the national legislature, right? It's now majority communist, and it's only going to become increasingly.
Yeah, let me tell you what's going on.
Yes.
So that there was a recent attempt to fundamentally amend the Constitution to constitutionally make Korea a socialist republic. Think USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. And that's the type of communization that is going on. And Prime Minister Kwang had engaged in a one-man hunger strike to fight against it. And they were able to barely stave it off by 10 votes in the National Assembly. Well, I think there were 16 seats up for grabs here in this election, and almost all of them went to the side
Yes.
that is seeking to fundamentally shift South Korea into a socialist / communized society. And now they have the votes. And so it's expected that soon they will ram this down the throat of the people. You have to understand, the people don't want to go there.
The people, the 90% of the people, you were telling me.
Yes. They consider the most important ally. They love America.
It's obvious. We are loved here.
Yes, they are against the Chinese Communist Party in similar numbers.
Yeah.
And to think that a people like this would have elected a regime that is hard left, aligned with the Chinese Communist Party, aligned with North Korea, believe it or not, and are anti-American, anti-Israel for that matter, that is the sort of regime that has stolen elections to sweep into power in this way. And they are, in your words, and I think very apt words, on the edge of a precipice.
We're right at that edge. Now, you served as the ambassador. You were appointed by Trump during his first term.
That's right.
And you were born here, but you grew up mostly in the United States.
Yes.
So you have a very clear understanding of all this, and you're the ambassador for America. So I don't understand. How come you didn't run back to America and send the red flags and tell everybody, hey, we're losing South Korea? I bet you did. But explain what's going on here. How come our government is not? This is a big deal. This is serious. If we lose South Korea, this is the wall for communism here.
Yes. I think South Korea is the linchpin ally in the region, and you pull the pin on this ally, you will see an explosion the likes you would never want to see in the world.
So you've sounded that alarm in D.C.
I have.
And?
I think there is greater awareness that is happening bit by bit. And so I actually think the trend line is in a positive direction.
I think so too.
And so I'm glad to see that.
Yeah.
There is this fake president has been saying yes to President Trump to his face in terms of the tariff deal, in terms of the investment amount, $350 billion that has been agreed upon. And then he disavows it immediately the next day to the Korean people through the mainstream media here, which is, think legacy media in the United States.
Only worse.
Yes. And he is basically lying to Trump's face. And I think Trump is realizing that more. He is going after U.S. corporations like Coupang, for example, which is a Fortune 150 company, the Amazon of South Korea, with like 33 million subscribers out of a population of 52
That's
million.
a lot. That's 2/3.
Yeah. And they're going on an unprecedented assault with 10 to 14 segments of the South Korean government actively attacking Coupang in all sorts of ways. So this is all happening, and I think certain parts of USG are realizing it more
United
and more.
States government.
Yes, and there are certain parts of the U.S. government that I'm sorry to say do not understand this.
Well, and I would add to that. I agree that I didn't understand. I didn't even realize this, but I would also say that there's certain parts of the United States government that is actually socialist, and we've been infiltrated
Sure.
too. And
Yeah.
I have to just say, you know, I've come here, I've experienced this firsthand, and now my hackles are up. Now my sensitivity is up. And as I reflect back on America and my years here in America, I smell the stench. I'm more sensitized to it now than ever.
Well, I don't know of anyone who knows these sorts of things about election fraud than you do, Dr. Frank.
Yeah,
You've been to 48 states.
yeah, something
You've
like that.
delivered over 1,100 speeches.
Yeah.
You are leading the grassroots movement to regain our elections in the
Yes.
United States.
Yes.
And you have a sophisticated, in-depth, highly credible understanding of all this. So then when you've come here, you see the same patterns,
Same stuff.
the same tactics, the same sorts of things happen, and you immediately recognize it because
Yes.
you're steeped in it.
I'm steeped in
the
it in
work that you've
America.
done.
Yeah, how many times have I said same in America? You guys describe
Yes.
stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yep, same thing here.
Yes.
It's the same essential setup, and I think that's probably because of AWEB. Tell people what AWEB is.
It's the Association of World Election Bodies. It should probably be called something more like the greatest enabler of election fraud in the world.
I believe it.
And they have messed up elections in such a wide range of places, from Romania to Ecuador, from Kyrgyzstan to Iraq, from Bolivia and El Salvador. Believe it or not, even countries like, say, Canada and Australia have not been immune to election fraud, and they send the technological means under the name of K-voting, like as if it's like K-pop or other things along those lines, and they send this to other countries and mess up their elections. And guess what? The election cheating has overwhelmingly worldwide tilted in one direction, hard to the left. And so this is what they've been doing. And you have Huawei Components, a sanctioned entity, the Chinese company that has been deeply involved. You also have software that was developed in Venezuela that is used in a lot of these places.
Same in America.
Yeah, AWEB has 110 member countries. And so how is it that you have election in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and they are so upset about how AWEB messed up their election and such that they come to South Korea to protest? And what's ridiculous about all this is that the South Korean people are a dear, cherished ally of America.
Yes.
And yet you have this AWEB based in South Korea. It's unbelievable. Created by the National Election Commission of South Korea, formerly supported by USAID, which Trump has overwhelmingly dismantled at this point. But they are messing up elections all around the world. Look at what happened in Kyrgyzstan. You had mass protests break out, people ringing their legislature, and they actually canceled their election there because it was so messed up by what they obtained from AWEB. And there are many, many other examples, but those are a couple.
One of the things that was really impressive to me when I first arrived, I met with the election fraud team here. It's led by Chu Hyun. They've set up a ground game that is really impressive. They've got monitors, people at each of the polling stations, counting the number of people going in to vote, and then they're tracking simultaneously what the country is reporting, what the official numbers are. And one of the first things they showed me, and I made a graph of it because you guys all know me. You know I make a graph for everything. But I made a graph showing the number of people who had gone into a polling place compared to the number of votes that were reported. And imagine that. There's about 10% too many votes coming out of a polling station. And it's not just this place. It's all around the country. but I think we you folks in America have heard all the stories, about pizza boxes over doors and windows and things like that, and they have the same stuff here. They have people have been putting sticker. Here it is. They putting covers over the cameras. It's the same story as in America. It's exactly the same stuff. It's sort of weird to hear the same stuff in Korean, but it's the same stuff. But anyway, I think I would like to give Chihyun a chance to maybe describe what his work has been. Oh, okay. All right. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk to Chu.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, My Pillow mattresses and My Pillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's gonna ship absolutely free.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LINDELLTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LINDELLTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
When you read one news source, you get one side. When you read two sources, you get an argument. Read 40 sources, and you get the truth. LindellReport.com, the only place you ever need to visit for your news. From LINDELLTV, over 40 trusted outlets in one place. No editorial gatekeepers, no hidden bias. Just the day's news. Balanced, unfiltered, ready when you are. Whether you lean left, right, or straight down the middle, this is where you start your day. One click, one feed, one truth. The decision is yours. LindellReport.com. The news you need, the balance you deserve.
Too many pharmacies and insurance companies are blocking the medications that actually work. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. They give you access to treatments like ivermectin now, starting at just $2 a capsule. They also have methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine, and so much more. They're helping you stay prepared, and they've dropped their prices by 25%. Also use promo code LINDELL10, you save even more. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use promo code LINDELL10 and get the medicine you need.
Dr. Frank back here with you. No, it's not Vanessa, but she's having a little technical difficulty. That's why she's not with us, but she's with us in spirit. During the commercial break, my Korean friends here were asking me about the pillows and if I liked them. And absolutely, I like them. And I own them. And the former ambassador, he's got them too. And they're great. And so they said, well, can they buy them in Korea? And I said, I don't know. So maybe we need to start a distributorship here in Korea to help Mike out. I just think that was pretty fun. But one of the things I thought we should cover next is I've been very impressed by the ground game they have here. And Chu Hyun is the leader of that team. And I just thought we'd give him a chance to maybe describe some of the fraud that they've found. And I got some of the examples out here. And maybe I could have him describe them to you a little bit. And then Jennifer will interpret for us. So describe to us what this is here.
This is false ballot, fake ballot.
Fake ballots.
예, 너무나 그 가짜 투표지인 게 명확한데.
It's so clear that they're fake.
It's clear that they're fake because they've been printed.
예, 이거는 이제 도장에서 나올 수 없는 도장인데 이것이 또 유효표로 되었습니다.
What's different in Korea versus in America is when you vote, you use a custom stamp. And that certifies that is a vote that you used. Yeah, so you can see it there. Well, those stamps are not supposed to be on the ballots ahead of time, but yet they have stacks of ballots that have this stamp already pre-printed on it, which is it's how they stuffing false ballots. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
그리고 조금 전에 나왔던 그 당일 투표가 있는데 그 당일 투표는 원래 일련 번호지를 떼고 줘야 되는데 무수히 많은 일련 번호지가 붙어 있는 투표지들이 많이 발견되었습니다.
You just saw a picture of the election day ballot, and if you look at the ballot, the edge of the ballot should have been cut.
The bottom right side.
Yeah, the bottom right side. That's where the serial number is. That should have been detached. But you could see that for some ballots, the serial numbers are still attached or partially attached.
우리는 저걸 보고 사람들이 개표장에서 투표를 한다라고 얘기를 하고 있습니다. 개표장에 가서 투표를 오히려 했다.
So what the officials did when they were in the counting stations and discovering these ballots with still attached serial numbers is that they started to detach them themselves. And the Korean viewers called this action voting in the counting stage.
Yes. So let me interrupt for a second. So voting goes a little different here. They vote in their local polling station, and then all the ballots are collected in a big barrel, and then they take they transport that to a big coliseum where they do the counting. And and what's interesting is you've got all the seats in the coliseum up high, and people can observe this. And so the reason why we have the picture of this ballot is we have people with high resolution, high performance cameras taking pictures. There are no pizza boxes in the way, and they can take pictures. And so they are collecting a lot of fraud this way, actually during the counting period.
원래 통상적으로는 사전 투표에서 조작을 정말 많이 했는데 이번에는 그렇게 당일 투표, 일련 번호지 있는 당일 투표 조작을 많이 하다 보니까 저런 일련 번호지 있는 당일 투표지를 위조 투표지로 활용하다 보니까 수도권의 한 17군데에서 투표지가 부족한 사태가 벌어져서 많은 국민들이 심각한 부정선거가 있었다는 것을 알게 되었습니다.
Typically in Korea, we have 2 days of early votes, and then we have the actual election day vote. In the past, massive manipulation took place for the early votes. So there were lots of fraudulent ballots found for the early votes, but this time you found lots of fraudulent ballots for the election day vote, to a certain extent that in some polling stations, when voters turned out to vote on election day, they didn't have any more ballots to be distributed. They ran out of ballot papers. That's how many Koreans yesterday realized that this election is fraudulent.
And those were in conservative districts, by the way, where that happened.
The point they're making is that in districts that are conservative, they somehow ran out of ballots. And they think the reason they ran out of ballots is because they had a bunch of people voting who weren't supposed to be voting. So they produced all these fake ballots, ghost voters, essentially. What's this one, Chu?
이거는 이제 중복 투표인데 한 사람이 2번 투표하러 가는 영상 사진이 있는데 이제 참관인들이 보면서 2번 투표하는 사람들이 발견되었고 이곳은 2번인데 다른 곳은 4번 투표하는 곳이 발견되었습니다. 이렇게 중복 투표를 하다 보니까 투표지가 부족한 사태가 발생했던 것입니다.
And this is a case where a voter voted more than once. And those photos showed voters who voted twice. There were also other cases where observers caught people voting 4 times. So because there were these duplicate votes, that's probably one of the reasons why they ran out of ballot papers.
You might say this is an illustration of the maxim: vote early and vote often.
Well said. Well said. And what's so cool to me is they have people, his team, they have people stationed all over the place taking pictures and documenting this. And so this is not a speculative thing. They've actually captured it. Now, after the voting takes place, it's all on paper at the polling station, which I really liked. I liked seeing paper poll books, not electronic checking in. People sign in. All the ballots are collected in these barrels, and then the barrels are transferred to the counting center. But guess what?
이거는 이제
There's a seal on that barrel.
실이 필요가 없는 상태라는 것이고 사전 투표 보관 과정에서 원래 실이 이렇게 손상이 되면 안 되는데 CCTV를 조작해서 그걸 그대로 놓고 관내 사전 투표함을 열고 투표지를 바꿔치기 한다든지 위조 투표지를 투입하는 것을 의미하는 것입니다.
You could see that the tamper-proof seal.
The tamper-proof seal.
Actually, in these storage places, there are CCTVs, and people are able to view the CCTVs that are run 24 hours a day. But we highly suspect that they just rerun past footages so that while the viewers see the footages of perhaps the day before, they're able to just take out and change the ballots from the ballot boxes or put in more ballots. And you could see that those seals have been tampered.
They took me to a building where you could stand outside the building, and they had closed circuit TV pictures of all of the ballot storage places. And what she's saying is that nobody believes it anymore because somehow that seal got removed and put back on in that room, but yet you had footage of the whole time, and it didn't pick that up. So this is for Americans, because anybody who's been following election integrity in America knows what the Edison zero is. They have their own Edison zero as well, where the counts, the official counts are going up, and suddenly they re-zero and start over again. So I think that's interesting. What's this one here?
이거는 이제 투표지 상태가 이렇게 빳빳한 신권 다발처럼 나올 수가 없고, 우리 한국 선거법에는 투표지를 이렇게 접어서 투표하라고 되어 있고, 여러 장의 투표지가 이렇게 함께 들어가 있으면은 이렇게 눌리고 접히고 이렇게 해서 손상되고 뭐랄까 이렇게 너덜너덜해지는데, 이렇게 빳빳하게 된 것은 전부 다 가짜입니다. 특히 이번에는 이 가짜 투표지의 특징이 인주를 찍으면, 기표 도장 인주를 찍으면 뒤에 빨간 표시가 나는데 가짜 투표지들은 이런 표시가 안 난다는 사실까지 밝혀져서 개표장에서 수많은 가짜 표들에 대해서 이의 제기를 했는데 우리나라는 선관위원장이 판사를 겸하고 있는 구조 때문에 이것들을 전부 다 유효표로 인정을 했습니다.
As you could see, there are ballots which are pristine, like newly minted money. These are brick-like, pristine ballots, but by law in Korea, the election law stipulates the voters to fold their ballots before casting them in the ballot boxes. And even if you don't, because there's so many numbers of ballot papers, they get crushed and they get crumpled, but you see that they're fresh. And it seems like nobody has ever touched it. And in this election, we also found out that we use red ink for the stamps to mark the candidates. But if you flip over and look at the backside, the real votes you could see some of the red ink zipping through.
The red ink would bleed through the paper. If it's a real stamp, the ink would bleed through. Go ahead.
So there were many observers who raised objections because there were numerous ballots that showed that the red ink didn't bleed through. They were just clean in the back too. But the NEC officials all turned down the objections. That's because the NEC officials also serve, the head of the NEC board are actually judges.
So this is a perfect setup for my friend Morse. You talked about these folded ballots before. Give us that story.
Yeah, so when I led the monitoring team for the election last year, we shared our results at the National Press Club in the United States. And I talked about how you have these ballots that are supposed to be folded, but then they're completely flat, right? Mm-hmm. And they're just like piled on top of each other. And
in perfect bricks.
Yeah, right. And, the National Election Commission had the ridiculous explanation that this is special paper that after it's folded comes back into shape and goes boing back flat. And
Mike Lindell here. The radical left and the deep state aren't just coming for our freedoms, they're coming after our money too. For years, they've been destroying our economy from the inside out with reckless spending, open borders, woke policies that crush our businesses. And now they've left us with an inflation disaster that's wiping out the savings of our hardworking families. They don't want us to be independent. They want us to be dependent on the government. Well, that's not going to happen on my watch. That's why I partner with American Independence Gold. It's a veteran-owned company that's helping patriotic Americans fight back by protecting our savings with real physical gold and silver. And right now they're giving away up to $15,000 in free silver and a free gold IRA kit. A portion of all the profits go to 9/11 first responders and veterans at the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. The deep state can't touch your gold, so visit MikeLindellGold.com or call 844-714-4653 right now. That's MikeLindellGold.com. Take back control. You know, most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. What gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing, removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS, while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater, and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. Please visit SentryH2O.com and use promo code Lindell for 10% off your next purchase. Well, hello everyone. Well, I'm turning 65, and let me tell you, Medicare has me confused. All the junk mail and the robocalls and everything else, it honestly feels like they rigged the system just to confuse us. Well, that's why I partnered and working with Chapter. They're independent and they don't work for big insurance. They work for us. In fact, they're the only advisor that compares every single plan nationwide to find what actually fits your needs. If you're on the right plan, they tell you. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. And it's completely free. Just last year, seniors saved about $1,100 by finding a better plan with Chapter. So call Chapter at 234-LINDELL or go to askchapter.org/Lindell.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100%